I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Here.
Mr. Franco.
I'm here.
And Mr. Cabrera.
I am here. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, the notice requirements have been satisfied as to the time, place, and date of holding said meeting by posting notice on the bulletin board here in Borough Hall and by emailing and the same to the Herald of Cape May County and the press on December 7th, 2022. In the event of an emergency, your emergency exit is the door you came in, which is your back right, our front left, or right by the American flag, your front left, our front right. This meeting is being shown live here today on the borough's YouTube and the Facebook channel. Vicki? Test 1, 2. Are we good? All right, we are good. If you're watching the meeting live and you want to ask a question or make a public statement, you can dial the conference line at 888-363-4734, and when prompted, you're going to enter the access code 9699020, followed by the pound or the hashtag. If you watch the recorded version of this meeting and you have questions, you're welcome to reach out to our clerk at clerk@wildwoodcrest.org or phone her at 609-729-8040. Madam Clerk, we have one ordinance for introduction this evening.
Yes, sir. It's ordinance 1411, and it reads as follows. A bond ordinance appropriating $4,500,000 and authorizing the issuance of $4,275,000 bonds or notes of the borough for various improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the Borough of Wildwood Crest in the County of Cape May, New Jersey.
Motion that ordinance number 1411 be passed on first reading, advertised according to law, be brought up for second and final reading and public hearing on November 1st, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that ordinance number 1411 be passed on first reading, advertised according to law, be brought up for second and final reading and public hearing on November 1st, 2023 at 9:30 a.m.
Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
And next we have the resolutions. The first is authorizing expenditure to MRC to purchase poly-splash surfacing under state contract number 16-fleet-00121 for, and I think it's not playground interlocking, it is for playground poly-splash surfacing.
I'll motion it.
I will second. Trish?
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing increase of professional services contract in the amount of $2,000 to Laura Magadoff of Nissenbaum Law Group for special counsel for trademark patents for calendar year 2023.
Motion.
I will second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing the mayor to sign the shared services agreement with the County of Cape May to provide funding for the Cape May County Open Space Project known as Crest Arts Pavilion Park.
Motion.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing approval to submit a grant application and execute a grant contract with the New Jersey Department of Transportation for NJDCA Boardwalk Preservation Fund for the fishing pier.
Motion.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing acceptance of the calendar year 2023 best practices inventory and authorizing the appropriate borough officials to execute same.
Motion.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing re-advertisement of a request for proposal, notice to bidders, for authorized on-site inspections and plan review agencies for the following subcodes: plumbing and electrical, 1-year contract with 2 one-year options.
Motion.
I will second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing amendment to the 2023 municipal budget to account for additional funding from the State of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection for the Municipal Tier A Stormwater Grant.
Motion?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Next is authorizing the submission of an application to the New Jersey Urban Enterprise Zone Authority for Enterprise Zone Assistance Funds for administration of the Urban Enterprise Zone Program for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024.
Motion?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Lastly is amending the 2023 capital budget.
Motion?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Motion that all bills properly authorized as submitted be paid.
I'll second that.
It has been moved and seconded that all bills properly authorized as submitted be paid. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Motion that all reports received from the court administrator, chief financial officer, tax collector, chief of police, supervisor for the recreation department, construction official, emergency services coordinator for the EMS and Wildwood Crest volunteer fire company chief for the month ending September 30th, 2023 be accepted as presented.
Motion, second that?
It has been moved and seconded that all reports received from the court administrator, chief financial officer, tax collector, chief of police, supervisor for the recreation department, construction official, emergency services coordinator for the EMS, and the Wildwood Crest Volunteer Fire Company chief for the month ending September 30th, 2023 be accepted as presented. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Motion that all minutes from the commission meetings dated September 20th, 2023 and October 4th, 2023 be approved as presented.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded that all minutes from the commission meetings dated September 20th and October 4th, 2023 be approved as presented. Roll call. Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
Thanks, Judge.
You're welcome.
Okay, that brings us to our administrator's report.
Thank you. Beach Bump Out Project. Asphalt and concrete work has commenced at some of the 11th Street ends south of Rambler. They are Toledo, St. Paul, Monterey, Miami, Louisville, Nashville, Atlanta, Farragut, Stanton, Stockton, and Orchid. That will be the final phase of this project. This work is expected to be completed shortly, and then we would be able to request the county's reimbursement for this project. The Crest Arts Pavilion, the public hearing at the county was held for our $1.043 million funding for the exterior improvements to the Crest Arts Pavilion was held on September 26th. The 45-day public comment period has commenced and will end on November 10th, at which time we can begin to expend funds on this project. The shared services agreement with the county was authorized just a few minutes ago. Hereford Inlet to Cape May Inlet Beach and Dune construction, we have provided our comments on the 65% plans to coastal engineering. And we've also requested a meeting with the governing body so that they can go over those plans with you. And then we will be having a meeting with the public as well, hopefully. I have asked for that, and it sounds pretty positive that they'll be able to come down and do that. All indications are that this project will take place about 18 to 24 months from now. And the borough has no cost share on this coastal storm protection project. New Jersey Avenue, I don't have any new updates, but that project is expected to commence in the spring of 2025. Sunset Lake State Channel dredging, the New Jersey Department of Maritime Resources under the DOT has authorized the award of Phase 1 on this project. That is going to encompass North Wildwood, Wildwood, and West Wildwood areas from the mouth of Beach Creek to Post Creek Basin. It will remove shoaling from and restore navigability to the channels, the state's channels, that is. This first phase will be commencing in the next few weeks. It will take place 24/7. And should be completed on or about May 31st. The trucking of the disposal material, beneficial use material, will commence on February 1st, and they do have an approved trucking route for that already awarded. The CAFR applications, we don't have anything new to report. We don't have any outstanding that I am aware of at this time. Washington Avenue Brick Planning Study. Now that the planning study has been completed for this project, our grant writer is completing our FEMA application. They are due in November. 70% of the FEMA grants awarded in '22 were for clients of the current grant writer we're using for that project, so that's good. He has a very strong track record. For the 2023 year, FEMA has $2 billion available for flood mitigation assistance and building resilient infrastructure communities. They are the FMA and BRIC programs. We have a proposal forthcoming for the preparation of an additional application for that money for the Triangle Flood Mitigation Project, and as soon as they have them, I would present them to you all for your consideration. EV charging stations. The state has approved the Crest Arts Pavilion location at 6301 Ocean for 2 EV fast charging stations. I believe this will provide about $75,000 per unit. This will be confirmed once the state provides us with the grant agreement. I don't have an exact figure at this time. FYI 2023 Small Cities, we did receive $342,000 in funding for the renovation of bathrooms here at the municipal building. Our architect is currently working with Mark de Blasio's office on plans and getting ready to go out to bid on that. Today I attended the Jeff Planning Retreat. It is the annual retreat for the Atlantic County Joint Insurance Fund. It was held in Ocean City. The director reported, and most of the conversations today were surrounding the hardened insurance market, which is causing higher than normal premium insurance increases, which definitely will be resulting in higher assessments for all members this year. I will provide the presentations from today's meetings to all the governing body members via email tomorrow. But it looks like we're in the same boat as residential homeowners, where our insurance is definitely getting more and more difficult to achieve at a higher cost, that's for sure. That is all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Governing body, any questions? Public, any questions for our administrator? Conference line, anybody? Any questions for our administrator? Hearing none, we'll move to Mr. Blasio's report.
Okay, thank you. Just to add to what Connie had reported on, that's to fill in the blanks. We have a bid opening next Thursday for the reconstruction of Orchid Road, which is being funded by a DOT grant in the amount of $170,000. The Beach Patrol headquarters renovation project is still ongoing. The contractor has completed the foundation work and concrete planking, and they are currently working on completing the roof structure. I believe they will be coming to the commissioners for a time extension into March. That would be done by change order for your consideration. We're going to feel comfortable making that recommendation because you'll still be open in time for next summer season. So change order forthcoming, but just a time extension. Bayside bulkhead replacement project on hold pending a conversation that the commissioners are supposed to have today. That's my understanding. And we have 2 other projects that are in design that are scheduled to be completed and ready for bid before the end of this year. The first one's Crest Arts Pavilion. Second one is the Beach Street and Public Access Improvements Phase 3. And if all goes well, they will be designed and bid either in December or January, putting you in position to be done for the summer of next year. That's my report.
Thank you. Governing body, questions?
Thanks, Mark.
Oh, good, thanks, Mark.
Public, any questions for Mr. de Blasio? Anybody on the conference line have any questions of our engineer? Okay, that brings us to first responder reports. Start with Chief.
Good evening. Just going to touch on a few highlights from my report to the Commissioner of Public Safety for the month of September. For the month of September, we responded to 1,830 calls for service. We conducted 352 criminal investigations, 403 service calls, which includes alarms, citizen assist, fires, medical assist, school-related activities, and utility complaints. We conducted 303 motor vehicle stops with 75 summonses issued, 94 parking summonses issued, and we had 4 motor vehicle accidents. We did 338 property checks, 211 training hours, made 13 criminal adult arrests, and 3 DWIs. So that concludes my report. Unless the governing body has any questions.
Thanks, Chief.
I have none. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody from the Beach Patrol here? No?
There's one comment, Buddy said to have a good winter.
All right, Beach Patrol, have a good winter. Mr. Cripps?
Good evening, everybody. Start off with our calls. For the month of September, we had 124 calls for service. 46 were transported to the hospital. 26 had refused. Responded was the fire department, 30 standbys, and no calls for action or refusal was 15. We gave mutual aid, Wildwood 4 times, North Wildwood 5, and surprisingly Lower Township 5 times. We received it 5 for the month of September from the city of Wildwood. Highlights talk about is first is one of our members, Cornelius Maxwell, which everyone knows as Max. I just received a letter. He has been nominated. He's a finalist for EMT of the Year from the New Jersey Department of Health, the Office of EMS, and the New Jersey EMS Advisory Board. This event will be held at the National Conference in Atlantic City on November 2nd to the 4th. Currently, in my new position here, we're establishing a scheduling program to replace the antiquated paper system and reviewing and updating any current standing operating procedures and guidelines, and reviewing and updating our response plan for our calls, and I was also reviewing our mutual aid plans to include the county mutual aid plans in regards to rescue task force as well as emergency EMS strike teams. That's all I have for you guys.
Thank you. Extend our congratulations to Max.
I will. For $90 a ticket, anybody can go.
Is that per day?
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, that brings us to our first round of public comments. We'll start with anybody here in the audience. Just need your name and come on up to the podium. Hearing none, we'll move right to the conference line. Any public comments? Round number 1. Okay, discussion items under new business, lifeguard stands. Commissioner Franco.
I just wanted to, I think we discussed this a few meetings back, maybe a few months ago, to revisit the memorial plaques on the back of the stands. I think it's a good idea. I don't think, unless I'm hearing different, I think it's something that we could benefit from. Since there's a backup on our benches, I think there's a waiting list of that. So for this, I think for me, it would work. Especially for me, having a loved one that passed away that was on the beach patrol, have his name on a back of a lifeguard stand would be beneficial. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. I don't know if this would work for, I know it works for North Wildwood. I don't know if it would work for us, but I don't see a problem.
North Wildwood has a memorial lifeguard stand program?
On the backs of their stands, yes.
So do we have is there a program that they kind of laid out, like how much does it cost and what it looks like and all that good stuff? I guess I just need to.
I could look at North Wildwoods and get it for you.
Right, I guess, well, Chief Johnson's away, so I think he would need to weigh in. I just know the Memorial Bench Program, though, it is a full-time job managing that. We get requests every day, so I think I would like to see some more information, but can you check with Chief Johnson just to see? It's his guards and so forth.
Yeah, one of the issues, and I hate to be the negative guy, but apparently I am at this point for this. A lot of the guards, as you know, one of the problems is when you put those memorial plaques over on the back of the bench, these guys hang their towels over it, you wouldn't see it sometimes. The other problem that we talked about too was the mobility of the stands. And I think one of the problems that we may run into would be the fact that we start off with 18 stands, then we blossom up to 42 stands. So to price something out where Grandpa's name is on a stand that's out a shorter period of time, it may not be fair, but that can be taken care of. My suggestion, and I know that there's a backup, is at the Arts Pavilion, I have a bench for my wife that passed away, and I understand that stuff. I think it's a place to go to that's permanent, and it's there all the time, year-round. So I was wondering if we could look into maybe a paving system, over at the Arts Center, since we're going to start working on the grounds there, and make it a permanent type thing instead of a temporary type thing. Because the stands are gonna come down, they're only up there 3 months, 3.5 months in there. I just, and I would hate to have my wife's name on a stand on Forget-Me-Not, and then it's moved down to Heather, and she's not there. I mean, there are just a couple of things. I think all the ideas are good, but I'd like to see a more permanent area, would just be my thoughts.
Can we get more information on, like, how much does it cost, what they look like? I think you said they have to be on the beach patrol in order to get?
No, it could be, I think it was brought up a few meetings ago that
Yeah.
the people that were beach goers that they wanted to be on a stand. I think that was the initial ask. No, there's no requirement that they have to be on the beach patrol. I don't think so.
Any idea what the cost is?
No, not off the top of my head. I was just bringing it up for a discussion. I can find out for you though, or Trish, I guess
Yeah.
I can find out.
I could reach out to North Wildwood.
Okay, so let's move it under old business until subject to more information, but I would like to get Chief Johnson's opinion on his thoughts, once we have more information, because I don't have enough information to go from. I just know that the Memorial Bench program, though, it is a full-time job. And then the brick paver program, don't they, I think they have something like that at,
We have it at the school.
at the school. at the
That was
lab.
that was a program that was brought in by one of our Eagle Scouts, and that was his project. It turned out pretty well. We had a lot of participation with it.
Yeah, I just think we have to be careful, because I know the Memorial Bench program's there, and then if we do lifeguard stands, then what's next? Let's put them on the trash cans, and let's put them on light poles, and the whole town becomes memorial. I think we have to be careful, keep an open mind to it, but be careful as to where this goes, because there's a bigger picture. Once we take another step in that direction, that leads to another step, to another step. So we just have to be careful as to what we're doing here.
Agreed.
All right, we received a request for the borough to, moving on to the next one. I'm assuming are we okay with moving lifeguard stands down to old business and?
Sure.
All right. Concession agreement, hotel zone, and beach chairs. We received a request potentially to allow our back beaches for properties to put their lounge chairs and offer maybe some level of service to their hotel, motel, condo, guests, and so forth. And we did that. We did it during COVID when there was social distancing around the pools, and it gave them more room to spread out the chairs and so forth. And that was permitted by the zoning official. So now that COVID has passed us, this is more of a request to, hey, are you interested, is the borough interested in going out to bid to allow use of space directly in front of any property that would be interested? So I think Trish put together, reached out to
Cape
Stone
May.
Harbor and Cape May, who apparently offer that service. I think she gave us some examples. I guess the question, before we take it any further, is there interest to advance that ball, or is there no interest and we don't want to offer it at all? I guess that's the question.
I have a question. So my question would be, we already have the service on the beach. I'm concerned that because we contracted out, would that impact that contract with the service that's currently out there? How would that interfere with it, or would it interfere with it? Are the chairs able to go all the way down to the water? Or are
You're
they
talking about
supposed
the
to be-
beach chair rentals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we've been, how many years have we had them here? Quite a few.
Long time.
Long time.
So that was my initial thought. I think it's a pretty cool idea, don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
But
think-
I just was worried about our relationship
Right.
and with our contractual.
Is it only was the request only for the guests?
It was exclusive to their patrons
Exclusive to their
only.
patrons. So in
It
other
was
words, it's
a
not open to the
service for
public.
theirs.
So that
yeah.
wouldn't affect then the concession that we have on the beach.
Well, it might, because you come in as a guest and you want a chair, even though you're at the hotel, you're renting from them also. But I understand the point that you're making.
Yeah, I'm not, so east of the dunes, I would not be interested. I would be more open-minded if it was directly in front of the bulkhead perhaps, but not all the way down by the water. So I just think it's just another one. We get those abnormal tides, even as large as our beaches are, they come way up. I don't want to, I'm assuming they'll be responsible for that, but that's just another concern. I don't know.
Anything we do would have to be on a more short-term basis if you did consider it, because of the dune going in and the elevation of the back beach. So, you don't want to get into, geez, this summer we're going to interfere with your business and you're not going to be able to do it. And we already contractually obligated to it. So I would, we are going to have a meeting with DEP shortly about the dune. I would do something up until you think that construction would occur and not go beyond that, just because we don't know how it would impact it.
How about permitting something, because we had to get permits.
For temporary chairs, you would not need a permit to
But
place
for
them, but they would have to go back to the hotel or motel. They would not be able to stay on the beach, nor would they be able to have a shed or a place to store them, because
That's
then
my
you would
point.
have to permit them.
Okay.
So any type of structure that you would put forth in your contract would have to stipulate that that owner of that, motel, hotel, condominium, whatever, would have to bring their chairs or umbrellas, whatever they might be bringing to the beach, back to their location, to their property every evening by a certain time. And you would want to do that also for safety purposes. For at night, you don't want things flying around, wind comes, storms come, it could be detrimental. So there'd be certificates of insurance that would be necessary, but I would definitely say that you would want them to bring and store all of their equipment back on their own private property each night.
Any idea what these municipalities that offer it, what the revenue stream is?
Well, at the bottom of this, it's on that resolution, tells you how much they received, the bid amounts.
Here.
Oh, I got it.
Right there.
And they were locked in for 5-year terms.
Parcel A, well, the revenue stream is certainly
Significant.
appealing.
Depending on the locations.
Right.
Can't see.
I guess, listen, at the end of the day, is the request to be east of the dune system, like right down by the water? We don't know
It didn't
yet.
specify.
This is a hotel that has a hotel in the town in which we asked for this proposal, so they're already used to that service being provided. They want to bring it here.
I have no problem with it at all. I think it's you have a hotel that's putting in millions and millions of dollars into their property, and the property before that was almost condemned. So any type of new idea, fresh idea, I'm all about this, and it's a nice revenue stream. So I have no issue with this.
Is there, and it has to go to public bid there, right? Right, so is no guarantee that
Sealed bid or public bid.
still bid or public bid?
You want to make it fair and equitable
Right.
because there's a lot of motels and hotels. Some may choose to want the property in front of their hotel. Some may say, I don't want to offer that service to my people.
I'm definitely interested in from a financial standpoint. I'm just more concerned about where and locations and the parameters on the beach. I guess we need to kind of hone in on those details. So I guess if okay with everybody, could we kind of put a proposed plan and float that past everybody, that what may work,
Mm-hmm.
and then we can readdress it and just once we have a little bit more information.
I think that's fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
Good? Sure. Good? All right. All right. We'll move both those items under new business to old business. And that brings us to old business. Proposed bulkhead ordinance. Solicitor Galzunas is on vacation. There was a recent draft that he had circulated, which I reviewed. I didn't have any issues. Governing body, did you have any issues with it? If hearing none, then I think that we would need to move, at least for introduction, at the next meeting, for sure.
I really didn't grasp all of it. I was going to ask Ron tonight about that, so I didn't have all my questions answered yet. So I don't see why I can't ask him in the next 2 weeks, so I don't have a problem moving forward with that.
He's on vacation until the 30th,
Okay, when's our next?
the 1st.
Okay.
That might be a problem with the 2 weeks.
But he's here on that Tuesday, so
We'll see.
Is there, Mark and you guys were very instrumental in helping to put that together. Maybe you guys could help Joe if any questions that he might have in lieu of that. I know to address an issue that we are experiencing now, we need to get that introduced.
To get it effective by the end of the year.
By the end of the year, right.
No problem.
Okay, proposed floodplain, let's see, bulkhead ordinance, floodplain ordinance, that's on hold. Potential swim run event, I had circulated a draft to everybody for any comments on the run event, which is tentatively scheduled for October 5th of 2024. That would be a 10-mile run and a 5K run with a race company, JLD Events. I didn't know if anybody had any comments. I know that I received some verbiage on the agreement from Solicitor Galzunas, which we can forward off to make those changes. But generally speaking, does anybody have any issues with the run event, the date, any of the details? The Wildwood Crest Tourism Development Commission also approved it as well. So I just wanted to make sure that before we get too far ahead, that the governing body and the borough's behind it, and we're ready to get it scheduled, because Brian does have to get it on the calendar of events, so people are aware of it for next year.
I'm fine, I spoke to you about that one. That's good.
That's fine. I'm fine.
Okay, Trish, do we need like a resolution then for our next meeting or anything? Or is there anything official? 'Cause there is an agreement that I would need to sign.
Right, but you said the TDC is going to be
Yes,
funding, or
yes,
we can do it. We can do a resolution to tighten it up.
okay. Crest Pier capital plan for generators. So my understanding is, in reading an email from our grant writer, that there is no funding available for a generator for the Crest Pier. So I guess the question is do we want to move forward with a generator, purchase a generator so we can have an area for people to go at the Crest Pier? So I would say this, we have your estimate, Mark, if I recall. Maybe we lay it out and kind of see how that fits in with the capital plan, and we can make a decision if it's able to be afforded or if not.
So, food for thought for this one. I've been thinking about it a lot. I have a generator in my house. I think they're good. Right now, we have a generator in the police station. We have one down at EMS. We have one down at the fire station, which is really the main hub for people that would need to go somewhere. The last time we had an issue, it was the electrical storm. Power went out. I think we had 2 people, and that was in the summertime. So I would just like to look at the full need. I mean, I understand it, I get it, but I don't know what the numbers are and the amount of work that's going to go into it. So I think we should really just look at that. If we can get a proposed number.
Yeah, that was contained in the proposal.
We have it.
I don't remember reading that. I must have missed it.
Let's recirculate that, and we
Okay.
can come back to that one.
No problem.
It just, that proposal was for the whole building.
The whole
not-
building.
Not the
Right.
section of the cooling area.
So the idea,
Above ground diesel.
when that power outage happened, the good news is it was addressed very quickly, reasonably. It happened at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I think we were full power by 10 o'clock at night, roughly 9 hours. But if we get something like that takes out the power grid for a longer period of time, especially in the middle of summer or even during the winter, well, we're going to have a lot of people that may need a place to go. So I guess that's the question: are we going to prepare for the worst and hope for the best, or we're just leave it alone? I was originally more keen on it, just to be honest. Is I thought I was under the impression that there was going to potentially be grant money out there for that. So when I got the news that there's no funding, that kind of pulled down the drapes a little bit for me. But I hate to say it that way, but it is what it is.
Certain years you will see them come forth. We've seen years where generator grants are out there, but this year we haven't seen any.
So the last time I remembered a major problem,
Had to be put on a platform.
yeah,
That's the problem,
but
where it had to go.
it was during, I can't remember what year it was, but it was
2018, 2019.
when we went out for a week.
Mhm.
And then, Chief, I guess we took people and went down to the convention center or the firehouse, Adam? I forget.
We
I wasn't
utilized
involved.
The firehouse and the convention center. That was
Oh, that was
Next
prior
day.
to that, that was probably 16 or so, right, with a big storm?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
before
yeah.
that.
That was
Yeah.
a big snow and
Yeah.
ice storm that we were out for
Yeah,
A week.
yep.
Not everybody, but the majority.
Not everybody, but, I mean, yeah, I mean, what, 2016, so.
Yeah,
it was 7
Super
years
Bowl.
ago.
yeah.
That one was?
Yeah, it was on the Super Bowl night, Sunday.
Okay, so we'll just keep it under there, and if we could just recirculate it, get our
Yeah, we'll
hands
send it
around
back
it.
out.
Maybe we just wait for an opportunity where there is a grant that might be out there, and in the meantime, God forbid, something happens, we'll have to cram them in the police department, the fire company, or
I could take one at my house.
your house. All right, next one, traffic calming. So we had Mark gave his presentation at the last meeting, and we also, then county, you talked about the county efforts, and you're sitting on that, and some of them are kind of similar and
Yeah.
parallel.
Very much so.
And then we received the proposal for the traffic study from, I think it was for Colliers. That just happened. I haven't had a chance to get my hands around that yet, but there's too many other things right now. But anybody have anything else additional to add to that other than nothing? All right, so we'll come back to that one. Code enforcement, that's on hold. Backbeak excavation, so it looks like that project, just to bring everybody up to speed, so Connie touched on in her report, it looks like the Army Corps project is getting closer, a step closer to happening out on the beach, and part of that project would be to elevate our back beaches so there's a proper slope we don't have any drainage issues in the back. So as of right now, I think that would be on hold, continue to be on hold until the state and the Army Corps do that project.
I can say that meetings are starting to occur more frequently, and as I said, I have requested a meeting for you, the governing body, to be given an update on the 65% plan so that you can ask questions of coastal engineering and the Army Corps, and they have said that they are very interested in coming down and doing another public presentation, because it's been a while since the last one. It was right when you guys got elected that the last one occurred. And I said, in fairness to you, it would be nice to have them come down here and answer your questions, concerns, and really look at those plans and have them explain the plans to you. Mark made his comments based on the 65% plans, and I noticed a few things, but I wanted you guys to go over it with them so that you're secure and comfortable with it. So that should be happening in the very near future.
Did everybody sign off on that now, or is,
Yes, all of the state aid agreements have been signed. Lyra
Okay.
has signed theirs, all of the municipalities have, yes.
Strong-armed is probably a better term, but
Yes, they
yeah.
were
Yeah, well,
signed.
It's signed.
But right now, where they are in the process is we do have the 65% plans in hand. The next thing you'll see is very close to like 99% plans. They're right now, the acquisition team is working on easements and being able to place the dune on private property. So that is a long process. That takes the better part of a year. We're in the same situation with DOT in other regards, but that's where they're at right now, is in the easement portion of all of this. Now that the state aid agreements have been signed, they have agreed to move forward with that. They used to do it prior to you signing a state aid agreement. Now they will no longer proceed until they have state aid agreements in hand. Now they will proceed with acquisition. So that's where we're at. But you will be having a meeting shortly, and go over the plan, make yourself comfortable with it, ask the questions, what does this mean, what is this? And then we want to talk about our walkways being widened and how that's going to impact the placement of the dune and the crossovers. So,
thank you.
yep.
Okay, backbeat excavating, dredging, New Jersey Avenue infrastructure, nothing on that. That project's been pushed off for roughly a year. Public Works roof, waiting on the final specs. That's a co-op deal. Public Works, Crest Pier roof, and possibly Scoop Taylor. Bayside outfalls. Okay, so this is the one that we wanted to give Mark some direction on. So I just wanted, I was thinking about the last meeting when we were talking about the bulkhead ordinance and potential project. So I kind of broke it down into what I'll call option A, which is taking the five street ends and raising it to 8 feet, which is what we had talked about at the last meeting. But then we saw where we see the need that we're going to have to do another 5, but we also recognize that the biggest issue that we're facing along that bayfront is the nuisance flooding from the water coming back through the outfall, the tide flex valve. So, and it's not coming over the bulkhead. Now, the issue on the north end of the triangle, of up closer to Cressy, is unrelated to what we're talking about on this particular project. But there are still streets that are getting it. So we talked about doing 5 streets. The ballpark, I'm just using round numbers here, for raising the street end for a new valve, and putting a new facade on the bulkhead, because they're made out of wood, and the reason that they're rotting is because the street is sloped towards that bulkhead, and when the bay water comes in and the rainwater goes, it lays at the end of the street and it rots out that wood. So anyway, we could raise it to 8 feet and spend about $350,000 for each one of those. We could do 5 of them for roughly $1,750,000, knowing that we're going to have to come back and do another 5 shortly thereafter. Or because the bulkheads aren't flooding themselves, in other words, water is not coming over the bulkhead, we could keep the height the same, redo the facade, still raise the street and put the new valve in and spend $2 million, and pretty much not have to do anything with the raising of the bulkheads. So those are the options. So I guess I'm trying to figure out which, do we want to go option A, which is doing phase 1, which is 5 street ends, and those 5 street ends would be Columbine, Fern, Lotus, Myrtle, and Sweetbriar. And notice, and remind you that Sweetbriar is the one that has the public fishing dock on there, the crabbing dock. So we're going to have to make some decisions related to that. Or do we want to do all 10 of them and spend $2 million, which is the funding that we currently have in place to do that project? And the bond ordinance that we just introduced tonight added an additional $1 million to address the valves on the north side, which is a very important area. And again, the bulkhead ordinance, the importance of having that introduced at the next meeting kind of ties in with all that. So we have some issues that we have to address up there to stop this nuisance flooding. So that all said, I think in the long run, if we don't have flooding in our and if we decide to do option B, which is do all 10, clean up the bulkheads, leave the height the same, raise the street end up, and have it flow back towards the valve to the drainage area, it would not hurt the borough's ability down the road to raise the bulkhead and/or add a pump station down the road. So this is kind of like a first step, probably the most cost-effective way to address the flooding issues, which is the biggest issue, and then punt that ball down the road and then raise the bulkheads when and if the time comes. Because the current ordinance, if introduced at the next meeting, says that property owners would only have to raise their bulkhead if they did 50% of the property value of construction work, right? So that, I don't know how many, if they're $3 million properties or $2 million or whatever the number is, they would have to do $1 million, $1.5 million, $2 million worth of work to have to come up to the 8 feet. So I think that, I personally lean towards option B, but it's not my decision, obviously, so I'm bringing it to all of us so that we can provide Mark the direction he needs to finish up the bid specifications, and we can be ready to go.
So Mayor, can I just add that, just for everyone's recollection, back in December, we wrote a proposal on this, and I was directed by the board to go and replace the bulkhead. So if you're gonna decide to pivot from that, we're gonna want you to give me clear direction on that.
Fair enough.
My only concern, and I agree with the mayor on his assessment on the option 2, is, but the only thing I disagree or have a concern about is the height. There is some that on that 10 or 11 bulkheads that we're doing that are 4 foot, I believe, roughly. So I think that's low. Can we get away with keeping it the same and dressing it up? And then would you reduce the flooding by elevating the street and placing the valves in there? It sounds like we would reduce it. So that would be my only concern, is the ones that are very low, which are only a few, I think, that are roughly a little over 4 foot. So I'm okay overall with the option. I don't know how Commissioner Schiff feels about this, but I'm okay with that. But it's something that we should, before we really dive in, is to see which ones are low and if that's going to affect anything moving forward.
I like the analogy of diving in, since we're talking about water. I'm concerned about the tide flex valve. I tried to go over to Stone Harbor,
Yeah.
take a look. The streets are all blocked off. I couldn't actually get to it. I could see where it was.
Yeah.
I really want to try that option, just to see how it really works. You know, maybe pick a couple of streets. I like option B compared to doing full blast because of the financial situation that puts us into. But I really want to see how that works and how effective it is. Have that Stone Harbor reported back about that?
So, what I can tell you on that is that was a pilot project that was an outcropping of their flood master plan, similar to what's in your master plan. They actually did a pilot project starting in the spring of this year, and they put what I would call more reliable valve system in. Requires more manual operation, but it's more reliable. Valves were put in the spring, they've been operated, the valves are operated and monitored by the Public Works Department. They've had really good success. I would say it's doing the job. There are limitations with it, so it's like anything else, you buy more protection, you get better protection, so they're happy with the investment that they made. It's worked so far, it's been successful. In fact, we wrote a paper on it, and I presented that up in Rhode Island at a national conference, so we wouldn't have done that if it wasn't working. So
You feel confident?
we feel confident that's gonna give you a better level of protection than what you have today.
Than what we have
Then there's a
today.
limitation, so that limitation is, if the tide comes up and it comes over a bulkhead, all bets are off. If the neighbor has a low bulkhead, even though your bulkhead's higher, all bets are off when the water comes through. There's a breach in the bulkhead, so you're only gonna be protected to a certain point with that type of improvement.
Right, so right now, so of all the recent storms since we've been talking about all this, the only breach of the bulkhead is happening up around Lake Road that we've had public complaints on. We know that, right? There's been no breach on the public height of the bulkheads. That hasn't been coming over. All the flooding has been coming, the nuisance flooding has been coming back through the tide flex valves. Then you get the heavy rain, then it's a high tide, and it just lays and pools there until the tide recesses and it goes out. That's what we're seeing. So the manual valve, so everyone's clear, when it's high tide, the valve gets shut so the water can't come in from the bay. But you're still gonna get the water from the rainstorm and the flow of all the streets draining into trying to get to that valve. That will remain there, just like it is in the current situation, until that valve gets opened back up, where it will then release the water to allow all the water to enter into the bay.
Once the tide recedes.
Once the tide recedes. So that's the difference of what we have now versus where we're going to.
So we do that. Would that create an issue for the properties that may be around this tide flex valve? Because now we're inviting, like when it's shut, I'm talking about when it rains. Would we be?
So good question, so follow the logic. If it's being monitored properly, and the valve is closed and the tide is high, right, which means if the valve wasn't closed or didn't even exist, it would be flooding the road anyway, then you get a rain, you're still gonna end up in the same position. So what this buys you protection from when it's not raining and the tide is up,
Just like it was during the week this week.
right?
Mhm.
So it buys you that protection only to a certain point.
Got you. Thank you.
And just to summarize in layman's terms, you do have valves right now on the ends of the pipes, they're called tide flex valves. They are most of the time underwater, so you can't see them. They're out of sight, out of mind, it's hard to maintain. If one's open or broken and not functioning, you can't see it. These valves are gonna be landward of the bulkhead, just analogous to like a water main valve in the road where you see the water company go out, they put the key on it and they turn it. When they close it and close it, it's closed. Unlike the tide flex valve, if it's in the water and it has debris in it or seaweed or trash, and it leaves that neoprene open, it's not working, or you don't even know it's not working. That's the theory.
Makes sense in a theory. You know, it definitely does. It's just that guillotine coming down, shutting it off.
Keep in mind, you have an opportunity right now to apply for more FEMA money, be it a BRIC or an FMA grant, which we've applied for in the past and have been unsuccessful in the Triangle area, to go for the most expensive option later on, which would be a pump station or multiple pump stations. That's on the table. There's billions of dollars out there right now, we just talked about, but we've been unsuccessful in the past. They've done a forensic on it, and they've said, yeah, it got to the state level, and the state looked at our application, and they were very favorable. But when it got to the federal level, there was so much competition for that money, we did not get it. So we could apply again and maybe take it an extra step if you so choose. So I'll get that proposal for you, and then you can decide whether you want to take that extra step to have that level of security to get that water out that's sitting there during the high tide event. Am I correct, Mark?
Correct.
You know, I was initially, I
That's a long
I
time.
hate to drag this out, but it's interesting to me. I've been involved with it a little bit. I was against Wildwood putting in that pumping
Mhm.
station.
A lot of
until-
people were.
Because it just didn't make
So you
sense to me.
see it work, right?
So now that Rio Grande area has
Mhm.
been pretty good,
Yeah.
it's working.
Pumps are mechanical though, so you know, there's always that cost, the ongoing costs, and, you know, they go,
Maintenance, everything.
electricity, they go down, things like that, but it's that biggest level, like he said, you get, like, everything costs money, that extra level of protection is exponential in cost. So you could go for another grant, try to get it. Obviously, it's a lot of money, you would want that grant money to cover it. But there is this coming year an exorbitant amount of money out there available for flood mitigation. We'd be almost competing against ourselves to a degree because we already have one application out there, we'd be putting in another one. But we've never seen this kind of money on the table before, so it might be something for you to think about. It might be something that you go, hey, this might be the year that we want to apply again. Just put it in your hat, think about it.
So right now, the original authorization included replacing the bulkheads on 5, well, all 11 for design, but bidding and constructing 5. That came with raising the streets, and when I say that, like Connie mentioned, the streets go like this into the bulkhead. What we would do is we would invert that. So another resilient feature of that project would be the people that live on that little stub of the block are gonna get higher elevations. Of course, we're gonna have to taper that when we connect to the intersecting road. And if we were doing a comprehensive road job, we would go around the corner and try to raise everything up. That was the original authorization. If you switch approaches and decide to do what I think you're talking about, which is do that on all 11 streets, it would still be the same methodology. We would raise the roads, we would put the valve in, but we wouldn't replace the bulkhead. And then if you're going to go beyond the 11 streets, I call it the streets north from where we were supposed to stop up to Cressy, I believe those roads were already done and bulkhead was put in and it's concrete, it has concrete caps on them. So we probably would look to just put a valve in there only and not reconstruct the roadway. So I just want to be clear, I want clear direction and clear understanding as to what we're talking about, what you're directing me to do.
I'm okay with the option that the mayor suggested, option, the second one, so we can get this kind of started. I think we've been talking about it for a while now, so it seems to be getting more bang for your buck, in my opinion. So I don't have a problem with that direction, Mark, for me, so that's how I feel about that, and I'll stick with that one. So you can bang out 11 of them, I believe.
I think it's 10.
10, excuse me, 10, and we could still address the northern part of the area too. So I'm okay with that, that's fine with me.
So before I summarize again at the end, before we wrap this up, I want to be clear that if we go to put this valve in, Commissioner, I don't know if you actually got close enough to Stone Harbor to see what they did. I don't want to worry with the design nuances, but we may end up having to put a vault in depending on how deep the pipe is, which means that that valve is going to stick up. If that valve sticks up, we're going to have to protect it with a box. And the way we did it there was we put the box as close to the bulkhead as possible and curved it. So if that happens, because we haven't designed it until you authorize us tonight, if that happens, we're going to have to do that, which means that street end's going to look a little different.
I'm looking to see if I have a
Yeah,
picture.
it's actually, it's not a bad look at all.
No, it's not.
It's
No,
not-
it's just,
I would
it's
never-
just
I never
different,
see it.
right?
Yeah.
It's just, it's
My
gonna be
opinion.
different for people
Yeah, I agree.
who are accustomed to it.
Yeah, I don't think it looks bad at all. But right now, what's there now, and the street road, the facade looks bad, the road is mostly dirt, it's got weeds growing up through the whole thing needs to be cleaned up. And I think we can, again, this is really just phase one, because if we get to FEMA down the road, we can add the pump station, or we can do, if we have to raise the bulkheads down the road, we can do all that as well.
So if you do this, we would get to a point where if you got money for a pump station, then we would work with what you have. So you would have valves, so you would have the ability to allow the system to drain by gravity manually. And then if you have a high tide and you close the valves and you have a heavy rain, that we would have to come up with a way to divert that water that would have ponded in the street to go to a pump station that gets pumped out. And again, that'll have a limitation, because once water gets to a certain point and comes over the lowest bulkhead, then it does no good.
I didn't get that close to it. That doesn't look terrible. No, I'm good. I got mine, I can see that
That's
one.
the lower one. There's one that's slightly higher, but
Alrighty,
that's the lower one, so you know what it looks like.
thank you.
That's my opinion, Mark, so I would say run with it. I don't know how else. Mayor and Commissioner.
I'm for option B.
What's your option, sir?
I guess we're going with B.
Okay.
To be or not to be?
No, I'm too
That
big.
is the question.
So I'm just gonna summarize the record. Just so we're clear.
Give me this. Give me this. Go ahead,
I
Mark.
don't know if this has to be resoluted or not, because it was already done by resolution to original direction, but I just want to be clear. We're going to not replace the bulkheads, okay? We are going to put a facade wrapping on the existing bulkheads and not elevate the bulkheads,
Correct.
okay? On the 10 street ends that were in the original authorization, we're going to reconstruct the roadways to raise them as high as possible without detriment to the adjacent property owners, and put a valve in,
Yes.
okay? With that being said, there was an analysis that we did on that to explain to you that there is gonna be some cooperation that's needed with property owners, access to private properties, removal of brick and traffic treatment in the right of way, things of that nature.
That still has to happen.
And then we are going to go outside of the area of the 10 bulkheads north, and we're going to valve off the rest of the street ends. So it's
How
gonna
many
be
total
comprehensive.
valves we talking about? Are you talking about
Probably
now?
20, I think. 20,
Total?
20 yeah, I think there's 20-something street ends.
I can tell you, hold on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 18.
Okay. So you're doing this comprehensively in what we call the triangle danger flooding area, right? Okay.
What would you say would be the time to kind of get this done? 3 years?
What we're talking about here?
Yeah.
Well, we're definitely not lazy, so we'll definitely get it done for January.
Yeah, that was the original plan too.
Started in January.
In January, I'm saying from the time we start to the time we end.
So we would bid it in January, and we would have it constructed. It's probably gonna span the summer, because there might be with the valve portion, there might be a delivery issue, because they're gonna be large valves. Those pipes are 20-something inch pipes. Those valves may not be sitting on a shelf. So you'll see roadway elevation, you'll see facading, and we're probably gonna have to demobilize for the summer waiting just for valves.
Similar to what we did with the pump outs.
Yeah.
Right. So definitely not multi-year. We're
Okay,
within a
good.
year.
That
Yeah.
was my
But
concern.
maybe 2 phases to
Figure by the
avoid
end of
summer.
next year, I think, right? By the end of next year? End of next year?
So it'd be a year. Onward and upward.
All right, Mr. DeBlasio, you have everything you need?
Thanks, Mark.
So if there's any, so I know that there was your proposal for engineering, just, if you could just dive into that. I would think, but can you just check to see if there's any additional cost to the borough or not for
There-
kind of We're redoing, because this is less involved than the original one, so I would think there'd be,
So,
We get a refund.
because we're pivoting,
Pivot.
from the design, because we haven't gotten into the final design, we could use those funds to go up into the northern area, so I don't believe we're gonna be coming back to the borough for additional funds. We wanna help with your debts.
all right. Thank you, kind sir. All right, we have our answer. Arts Pavilion, so Connie talked about in her report. Bid specifications on that, I know that they're working on that, so that should be happening sometime soon. We should be out to bid, I would think sometime in November. Washington Avenue, we talked about that in the BRIC report, and I'm assuming nothing on the lightning detection system. That brings us to our last round of public comments before we head into closed session. Starting with anybody here in the audience. Hearing none, we'll move anybody in the conference line have any public comments. Okay, I'm gonna hang up on the conference line and ask everybody, go ahead.
I need to read that resolution, authorizing executive closed in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, specifically NJSA 10:4-12B with regard to one-issue contract negotiations. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second, Trish?
It's been moved and seconded that the foregoing resolution be adopted. Roll call, Mr. Schiff.
Yes.
Mr. Franco.
Yes.
Mr. Cabrera.
Yes.
6 o'clock.
All right, everybody, thank you for coming.
I need to stand up.